The citizens of Oak Ridge continue to remind us that all we do today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of trust, for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. We now move to item 2, approval of our agenda. Is there a motion, Council?
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries and the agenda is approved. We now move to item 4, approval of the minutes, or item 3, sorry, approval of the minutes from our February 9th special called meeting and our March 3rd regular meeting. Council, you've had the opportunity to review the draft minutes. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the February 9th, 2022 special meeting minutes as well as the March 3rd, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries and both sets of minutes are approved. Moving to the next item, resolutions, proclamations, and announcements. We have 2 tonight. The first is regarding Arbor Day, and I'd like to recognize our Tree City Committee Chair, who is also our Planning and Zoning Vice Chair, Nancy Stoudemire, right back there. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world and will be officially recognized here on April 29, 2022. Whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, provide life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood, fuel, and countless wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas we have a Tree City Committee which has led the town of Oak Ridge in being recognized as a Tree City USA for 4 years, and whereas our Tree City Committee has created a Treasure Trees program as well as held contests for our citizens to win trees and books about trees, now therefore I hereby proclaim April 7th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the town of Oak Ridge, North Carolina. I urge all citizens to celebrate this day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands for the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. And we have one more presentation, and I want to invite the Old North State Detectorist Club President, Mr. Rodney Jocelyn, along with other members of the club, forward for a presentation on some exciting recent finds. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Hello, my name is Rodney Jocelyn. I live at 719 Old Mill Road, High Point, North Carolina. And I'm here today representing the Old North State Detectors. I'm the president of the club. And what we're doing today is a presentation to the town of some artifacts that we recovered. These artifacts were from the Jesse Benbow farm, owned by Paul and Rebecca Wolf, and also the adjacent properties which are owned by Brian Hall and David Flanders, or I should say with permission from them for the adjacent properties. And the items that were recovered from that property were a stirrup, which is Confederate cavalry which is a copy of the 1859 McClellan saddle stirrup. That was recovered by John Mueller, who is holding it up here to show everybody. And he also recovered a Civil War period roller buckle at the same site. And on my left, Kelly Jones at that same site recovered a mid to late 1800s sash buckle, which would have been worn by the ladies back in that day. They wore sash buckles. So all very nice finds that are mounted, and thankful for Frank Engel, who's a local resident here in Oak Ridge. He arranged these hunts, and he did the mounting as well, and the very nice displays.
Thank you, Frank.
We also went to the Lowry Farm, which is owned by Jim and Courtney Harton, and at that farm we were able to recover a button, which is I forget what, it's a Merchant Marine anchor button, and that was recovered by Jennifer Britt, who was not able to be here today, but all very nice finds that we wanted to put on display. Our club is a nonprofit organization based out of Greensboro, and we've got a lot of respect with the local historical entities throughout the Piedmont area of North Carolina, working at a lot of historical sites to do recoveries like this. And our goal is to get it out of the ground, stop it from rotting away, and get them on display where the public can have the opportunity to, like them as much as we do. So I hope you guys will accept these, and they're going to be put on display here at your town hall.
That's
Thank you very much.
fantastic.
Thank you, Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you. And I know what a great woodworker Frank is, so thank you for that special touch.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn.
Amazing.
We'll leave them up here so that after the meeting, if anyone wants to come look at them, they can. We'll now move to the next item, which is a report from the Guilford County Sheriff's Office, and I want to invite Corporal Swearingen forward to give the report. Thank you for being here.
There's a few things that we're focusing on right now. One is our car break-ins have increased we've had over 24 car break-ins in the Henson Forest area. Every single one of those, as far as I've been able to tell, the cars were actually unlocked. So we're encouraging residents to please lock your vehicles at night when you're in your house. Your community is safe, but a lot of people have crimes of opportunity. We actually do have a suspect ID'd in those car break-ins, and we've been continuing the investigation to try to ascertain whether or not we can find more break-ins responsible in the area with this individual or anybody who may have been working with them. As the weather is warming up, we've had a lot more activity, people out at night. If you see somebody in the neighborhood that you don't believe belongs there, please call and let us know. More than happy to come out, even if it ends up being your neighbor. We'd rather come out 100 times for absolutely nothing than miss the opportunity to apprehend somebody the one time where it's important, where somebody's property is stolen. Going along with the car break-ins, I know it's not directly in Oak Ridge, but in Triad Park we had 4 break-ins yesterday, and these, although they were locked vehicles, people left items out in plain view, anything from laptops, purses, weapons. So we're encouraging people, if you're going to enjoy the parks, especially right across the street off Elisa Drive or any of the parks in the area, if you're going to have valuables, please lock them in a secure spot in your vehicle where they cannot be seen, because this will deter anybody from wanting to break into the vehicle, locked or unlocked. We also had one just on the outskirts of your community, a mail fraud where somebody stole a check, altered the numbers, and cashed it down in Georgia. Altered the check from $50 to $2,500, and it was a personal check, so that anybody who has to do some financial sending out money, anything like that, will be encouraged to maybe drop it off in one of the boxes at the post office as opposed to leaving it, in their mailbox in front of the house, because when that flags up, it's an opportunity for somebody to come in and look and see what's going out. And it may be something where they'll take you for a pretty wild ride. I know there have been some people have noticed some of our speed enforcement signs out in the area. Deputy Tinch is working very hard to compile some safety data for us to better serve the community with speed enforcement. And this also will deter people from seeing us out working the streets, to see people out stopping cars, maybe look at it as an area they may not want to come visit for crime. When we do stuff like that, we're also encouraging people to contact us if there's a problem in your neighborhood, so we can put officers in the neighborhood as well. You can reach out to our District 1 office, which is located in Summerfield, at 336-641-2300. It starts off as a phone tree, but as for the District 1 office, they're available to answer the phone Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And if you ask for a directed patrol in the neighborhood, we can come out, we can take a look at it day or night and work on maybe putting up a sign in the area, or have anybody from a regular deputy to our safety enforcement team come out and actually work on the area for you as well. We've been running our standard calls for service. We've been doing our very best to keep the response times as low as possible to better serve your community. And everybody has been doing a great job for us. I'm actually new to the area. I've served with the Sheriff's Office for 16 years, but I've recently been given the opportunity to come out and work this area full time. So I'm very excited for the opportunity and pleased to be here with you.
Thank you. We're glad to have you here.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great information. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
We'll now invite Chief Ken Gibson from the Oak Ridge Fire Department forward to give their monthly report. Tonight, we get the chief.
How is everyone? All right, first I'd like to start off with the call report. We had a total of 74 calls. This was all last month. Breaking those down, 22 were EMS calls. We had 8 motor vehicle accidents. Most turn out to be just property damage. And a lot of grass and woods fires. Not necessarily in our district. We were called to help Greensboro on a very large one. So that being said, if it's windy and dry, please don't burn. Do not burn. Structure fires, we were called to 4. One of those was in our district. It was in the River Oaks community. It was some damage. What had happened is the exhaust fan from the bathroom had caught on fire, which kind of leads me into those are not left to be on an extended period of time. Small motors, they can freeze, they can short. So they were very lucky, came home in time, found the house full of smoke, used a fire extinguisher. A lot of the damage we caused pulling the ceiling, trying to get to the fire. So that's kind of it for the calls for last month. We had a total of 643 training hours. That's with the full-time and volunteer staff all together. So that's about it. I kind of led into the little safety portion as far as the exhaust fans on for your bathrooms, and same thing for washer and dryers. When you leave your home, don't leave those items running. It has happened more often than not. But that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Chief, how's the plans for your training facility coming along?
It's going very well. A couple of weeks ago, they came out and drilled core samples for the soil. The preliminary showing that everything's looking good. It takes 4 to 6 weeks, like anything else, to get the true results back.
Okay.
So after that comes permitting phase. slowly but surely.
Okay, good. Good luck.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks for the update, thank you. We now move to item 7, which is an appointment of a council member for the current seat vacated last month by the resignation of Councilman Doug Nodine. I'll turn the meeting over at this point to our town clerk, Ms. Sandra Smith, who will take it from here.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I'll now take nominations for the seat vacated by Mr. Nodine. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Spencer Sullivan, our former mayor, for this position.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Mr. Sullivan, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Sullivan, are you here?
Thank you. And while our new councilman is coming forward, I'll invite comments from the rest of council, beginning with Councilwoman Pittman.
Spencer Sullivan is a familiar face to most of us. He has served Oak Ridge faithfully for many years. After serving on council and as mayor, he has most recently served as chairman of our Water Advisory Board, where he's continued the work of establishing our first municipal water system. Many of the town's current plans and initiatives originated during his previous terms, and he will step in fully prepared to start work. As a member of council, Spencer Sullivan not only brings experience, in-depth knowledge, and reason to our deliberations, he brings a great love for Oak Ridge and a strategic vision for our future.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
Well, I'll actually repeat a comment I made to Spencer before the meeting. One of the reasons why I really like he's going to be back up here is I really like his deep analysis of things, the way he thinks. He gives definitely a good, solid perspective of things, both pro and con on things. So I'm really looking forward to having his brain back up here on council.
Councilman McClellan.
Well, I know the first thing I said when I talked to him, I said, "Are you sure you want to do this again?" I have had the honor of serving with Spencer not only when he was mayor, but I've also had the honor to serve with him as the council liaison to the Water Advisory Committee. As you all know, he's oversaw this process where we are now, as a town, a utility. And we are making that progress. We will soon be getting our first well. So this system is starting to come into reality. He's the right man. He brings the knowledge of probably, as I told someone down at the county, I said, he's probably the go-to guy for water up here. And in fact, I also said that the other day at Trivic. And so I'm honored to be able to say that I will serve with him again.
Thank you. I'm just thrilled that Spencer is willing to serve again. I hear a lot of nice things, praise for what we're doing in Oak Ridge, and what I usually say is that everything we do comes from the previous councils on whose shoulders we all stand. In the midst of the many strategic priorities that we're working on right now, from our new park to the water system to developing new guidelines for the commercial core and launching other new programs, not to mention our budget coming up, I'm just grateful that Spencer, with his long record of service for this town, is willing to serve again. Thank you for stepping back into public service. And I'll turn it back over to you, Sandra.
Now, hear me?
Not really.
I'll now administer the oath of office. If you'll raise your right hand on the Bible. Do you, Spencer Sullivan, solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof,
that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as town council member, so help you God.
I will.
Come on up. We've got a seat waiting for you. Welcome back. Do you have any comments since we've all opined? You're welcome to do the same.
Get all this figured out here.
It should be familiar, your book.
Thank you, it does work. Thank you all for your kind comments, council. It's, I'm a bit overwhelmed by this, honestly, by your comments. I feel like I've been doubly honored here tonight. First, that this council has expressed their confidence in me by appointing me to serve with them. And secondly, because it's Doug Nodine's term that I'll be completing. What I'm going to share, I will probably echo what council said last month when his resignation was announced. Doug has served this town so capably and so well in many roles, among them chairing our Planning and Zoning Commission for many years and leading the remarkable work of Preservation Oak Ridge in restoring the AI Church. Doug and I served together on council for 4 years, and I always appreciated his critical insights, his pithy comments, and his wry sense of humor. We agreed on most issues, but when we didn't, we were able to discuss our differences, each respecting the other, and it never affected our friendship. So I want to add my thanks to Doug for sharing his many talents serving this town for so many years. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that done, we're going to move on with the rest of our meeting, starting with the town manager's report, item 9. Mr. Bruce?
Thank you, Mayor Schneider and council. I have a brief report for you this evening. First item is a request to appoint Jim Harton to the Water Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Is there a motion, council?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint Jim Horton to the Water Advisory Board.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
This is basically replacing that man's position down there?
Actually, it's
not.
replacing Mr. Paul Benz,
Okay.
who left, who was our liaison with the Finance Committee.
Okay.
So it's fulfilling that seat.
Okay, but isn't,
Yeah, he can't serve anymore, right?
okay, I thought he was filling that, okay, no problem.
Next month.
Next month, okay.
Although, well, there's a little complication with that, but
No problem.
it's fine.
Okay.
And we will have to elect a new chair.
Okay.
But for tonight, he's going to have to report from up here. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion carries. And Mr. Harton is appointed to the Water Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Secondly, I'd like to provide council with a brief update on our voluntary annexation drive. We are accepting petitions for voluntary annexation up until April the 15th. We've received 10 petitions as well as 25 petitions that were carried over from last year. If you live in the ETJ or in the eligible areas south of the current jurisdictional limits of Oak Ridge, you may be eligible for annexation. If you've got any questions about the process or whether your property is eligible, we'd encourage you to give a call to Town Hall and we'd be glad to talk you through it.
Thank you. Is there any other business?
One other item that I'm going to ask the town clerk to address the council on.
This item is on the Veterans Honor Green, and just a report that the Special Events Committee raised $17,660 during the quarter ending March 31st. And council has agreed to move that money every quarter into the restricted fund. Also, council has agreed to match a maximum of $34,000 for this fiscal year, which it has already done. So unless council takes a different action, there will be no more matching of funds until the new fiscal year starts in July. So the total previously in the fund was $77,951, and with this additional $17,660, that will make just over $95,000 in contributions to the Veterans Honor Green so far. So if it is council's will, I'll ask you to ask Mr. Anders to move the $17,660 into the restricted fund.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we move $17,660 to the Veterans Memorial Restricted Fund, that we instruct the Chief Financial Officer to do that.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries and the movement of the funds is approved. Thank you. Is there anything else, Mr. Bruce?
No more business, thank you.
Okay. We will now move on to our single new business item, which is a discussion of a proposal to provide Wi-Fi coverage to the Oak Ridge Town Park. Council, you've received the proposal to provide Wi-Fi coverage, as well as a map and other materials showing the proposed coverage. What is your pleasure?
Make a motion that we approve the proposal to provide Wi-Fi coverage to Oak Ridge Town Park.
Is there a second?
Are you
Sorry,
seconding
what
it?
did you say?
I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said something.
Well, I was deciding whether to second it, because the proposal that we've gotten gives us the option of doing it in phases at one price, or to save $750 if we go ahead and commit to doing the all three phases at one time. So,
Well, according to our new procedures, someone can second it, and then you can offer a counter.
okay.
That's correct. There's a motion on the floor. It needs to either have a second or a...
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. We'll start with Councilman McClellan
Well,
for
actually, for a
comments.
second, if Councilwoman Pittman wanted to, she could offer a substitute motion at this
She
time.
can, but
I
right
just want to let her know.
now,
I just
yeah.
want to let her
Right
know
now,
she
the
has the
motion
option.
is what it is.
No,
Right.
she's allowed to offer one at this moment.
Okay, is she, okay.
I just wanted to make sure. She sounded like she might want to.
Do you want to do
there-
it?
I'd like to make a substitute motion to enlarge on the motion that Councilman McClellan made, and make the motion that we include all three phases and save ourselves $750, so that we are approving the contract for $15,352.41.
So we're
So, hold on, that motion now needs a second for us to continue.
second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded, and that,
And that will be the motion we hear first.
So that's the motion we're going to hear first.
According to our new procedures, and according to our new procedures,
yeah.
Well,
Councilman.
Jim, that's normally the case when a substitute motion is
I understand
made.
that.
Okay.
The substitute motion gets
Thank you,
made
then.
first.
Yes,
We'll
I
start
understand
with
it.
Councilwoman Pittman for discussion.
My only discussion is if we could, instead of breaking up into these small pieces, I recommend we go ahead and do all three phases at one time. And that would include doing phase 3, which gives us shelter 2, as well as the playground and amphitheater and the concession stand area. It would give us full coverage. It would save us a little bit of money. And since we're not talking about huge dollars, I think it behooves us to go ahead and do the whole thing at one time, efficiently.
And Councilman McClellan, comments?
Yes, I think, and I agree with this, because it allows us to accomplish and on multiple phases here, make sure that ORYA, for instance, has the technology they need when they're conducting their games over in the fields. Also, if I understand this correctly, the food trucks, when we're doing things like Ridge Fest, they'll have better Wi-Fi connection to do their credit card swipes, as well as when we have music in the park and people want to do a credit card swipe. Am I correct on that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, to me, it's more efficient to go ahead and just, to quote the old tool man, get her done.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
One of the things, the common question that comes up is that, a lot of people say, I have one of these things. Why do I need Wi-Fi? Part of the reason is not everyone has an unlimited data plan. Okay, so that's part of it. Also, the towers that we use to connect our cell phones with are specific to a particular carrier. So if the tower is a T-Mobile tower and you have Verizon, you're not going to benefit from that T-Mobile tower. And the other thing is there's a lot of devices that don't have cell phone capability, like your tablets, some of your point of sale terminals and things like that. They need either a hotspot, which would use your phone, or Wi-Fi. I know for ORYA and a lot of the sports activities, they use a lot of laptops and things like that to keep track of participants and things like that. And it's much easier to connect to Wi-Fi than to a hotspot. Not to say a hotspot's not valuable and it's not useful. There is the promise long-term that technologies such as 5G and things like that will make internet access ubiquitous, but we're not there yet. Okay? So this does give us coverage. Now, clearly it's not going to give you coverage in the woods. We're not going to cover the entire park. There will be some dead spots. We're not going to give it blanket coverage all the way over. But it does hit the most used spots, I believe, which are the fields and the two shelters and the playground. So when a parent brings their child to the park, they can, connect their tablet or something like that to the Wi-Fi, or if their child wants to play a game while they're there, it makes life easier. Like I said, this is it's not a critical capability, but I believe it's one of those things that people kind of expect when they come to a public facility, that they would be able to hook to Wi-Fi. I know when you travel to the airports and things like that, you just, like that, you connect to Wi-Fi typically, just so you can connect better. So I think it's, like I said, it's an added service. It'll cost about $75 a month once the equipment's installed, and what's it, 17? No, what is it? $15,000 for the equipment, and we'll go from there. So, if you got any other questions, let me know.
Thank you. Councilman Sullivan. I'm sorry.
This is my first pass at some of this information, particularly the maps. I think Jim gave a very pointed description of 3 hotspots, if we want to call them that, in the most commonly used areas. The only question I would have, do we know what the ongoing operating costs are per month for the Wi-Fi service itself?
It's basically a feed from Spectrum. So Spectrum brings the internet in. So it's about $75 a month for a 200 megabit connection. There'll be some electrical costs, because the equipment, but it's not going to be I don't believe you're going to see a market change in the amount of electricity we use, because it is relatively small devices and things like that. It's warranted for the first year. One of the things, to be honest, I did not, usually when I ask about service contracts, they say not really needed, because if the equipment typically doesn't go bad in the first month or two, most electronic equipment tends to be fairly reliable for a long term after that, for 1 or 2 month burn in. So, I don't know if our AV guy has any comments about that or not. But.
Thank you. I guess I'm going to play devil's advocate on this. I'm a little hesitant on it. I'm wondering if we shouldn't hold off on installing Wi-Fi at the park until after the proposed cell tower behind the military academy is installed. I understand it's going to improve service for Verizon and AT&T. I think that'll improve. I'd like to see if that improves cell coverage at the park. I also, 5G is here on all newer phones and makes a huge difference even in the park. I know this isn't an enormous amount of money, but this was a project that started out, we were thinking it was going to be about 5,000 and it's 15,000, and I understand why, because we need the 3 hotspots and that's more equipment. But I wonder if the best course might not be to wait and see how things are in a year or so. I usually like to go with exactly what our Parks and Rec Advisory Committee says, but I feel like we have so many strategic priorities going on right now, and this is something new that came up that's definitely worth considering. I think as far as vendors go, they know the drill. They have to have, something that's some sort of working access. I haven't ever heard from vendors other than the Lions Club, which we're kind of small time. So I guess I'm presenting that devil's advocate point of view. Is there any further discussion, council?
I just want to emphasize that, the cell phone coverage will improve when we get more towers. But again, it doesn't fill in for the devices that don't have cell phone capability, like an iPad, a laptop, and those things don't have built-in, unless you pay extra for it, cell coverage. So if you were to go to, most people, if they brought their laptop to the park, would have to connect to their cell phone and use their cell phone as the hotspot. And like I said, not everybody has unlimited data plans and things like that. So that's the main reason. There's no question. If you're only using a cell phone and that's all you're focusing on, then yeah, Wi-Fi is not going to make much difference. It's the other devices and things like that, laptops, iPads, tablets, things like that. So,
That's a good point. I'm also a little bit concerned about the fact that we're going to say we have Wi-Fi in the park, and even though tonight we're saying it's going to be patchy in spots, there isn't going to be Wi-Fi. I worry about saying to the public, we're putting Wi-Fi in and we're spending $15,000 and there isn't going to be Wi-Fi everywhere. But I also don't think it's a place where most people bring their computers. Or some iPads may be at games, but I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman McClellan.
I don't know, my observations when I go around the park, particularly at the, like number 1 and number 2 where people are, they have their what do you call it, not the laptop, but the tablets, thank you. And so I do see a lot of use there. I also believe too that by making it easier for the food trucks, particularly when we have these events such as that we have every year, it makes it easier. That means it's business friendly. It makes the park business friendly. As far as the youth association, they need it. And and the park and you guys over at Parks and Recs have recommended it. And so I think it's a good start forward. If you get lost in the woods, better hope you have good phone reception. But in general, where most people are, where the kids, the playgrounds, the baseball fields, all that, this will be beneficial for them. It's a win-win situation. Should we wait a year? We keep waiting and nothing ever happens. It reminds me kind of what my mama used to say to my dad when my dad would say, well, let's do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. So let's, I think today is a good time to get it started. We can say we have Wi-Fi in the park. We're just don't get lost in the woods.
Thank you, Councilman McClellan.
The one thing that I would add to that, and I didn't bring it up before, is I think we are talking about targeted user groups like our athletics, our ORYA, our community events, park events, probably not people that are necessarily just walking in the park. And I know it's not included in this package, but having this in the park at some point can allow us to invest in the type of technology that would make our events, our music in the park, and things like that compatible with hearing aids. so that people who are hearing impaired, it makes that type of event more accessible, because the Wi-Fi feeds directly into their device that goes directly into their ears, rather than having to listen to a lot of things like that. And I recently had an experience with a close family member that they went to a concert, and that was the first time they'd ever had it, and they were almost in tears. So that is, for me, that's a good reason, because it's not only because of her, but it's because we do want our parks and our events to be accessible. We want our sports teams to be able to run their software. And for all of our community events, I've had meetings in the shelter and would like to have used my laptop and couldn't, because it doesn't talk to my hotspot, because it's my laptop, not my tablet. So, you know, I know there's pros and cons, but I think the pros outweigh the cons.
Thank you. Councilman Sullivan.
Just a couple of quick comments. I think in advertising Wi-Fi in the park, you advertise it as Wi-Fi hotspots, not as Wi-Fi, which would kind of imply total coverage. Say hotspots, and you can maybe put up a few signs as to identify where those hotspots are.
No, I agree.
I did notice, going back and reading the minutes from the CIP meeting, that the funds for this were unanimously approved to be spent in this calendar year. So I would think that we were willing, y'all were willing, not me, I wasn't there, to accept it at that point. I would certainly be in favor of this as well.
Yeah, and I do want to agree that the cost did kind of push my tolerance, because originally I thought it was going to be a lot cheaper than this. So, I mean, there's no question that this was a little bit more expensive than I anticipated. Either I was not knowledgeable enough to know what the equipment was costing or something like that, but like a lot of these things, you think it's just going to be a router here, a router there, and you're done. Because we didn't want to run wire, the big thing is we didn't want to run wire from the different places. If we ran wire, the equipment probably would be a little cheaper, but running the wire would be a lot more expensive, because there's a lot of wire running that would be required. So this is a completely wireless installation, except for the hotspot at the concession stand, where Spectrum does have to bring a wire into that building to bring in the base internet. But because we didn't want to dig a trench wire and stuff like that, the equipment was a little more expensive, but it probably would have been, I think it might have been more expensive to run the wire, because there'd be a lot of trenching there. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for your comments. If there's no further discussion, we will proceed to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries, and the proposal to provide Wi-Fi coverage at the town park is approved.
Do we actually need that amount of money? Is that, I forget if we actually have that money.
Because it's in our CIP.
Is it that amount of money, is there?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have quite the money in our capital line item, because we're not paying into the Heritage Farm Park portion this year. There should be an excess in our capital line item that we don't need a budget amendment.
Okay, I just want to make sure there wasn't any other procedural thing. Okay.
Thank you. We will now move to item number 11 on our agenda, the first of two periods for public comment. Speakers should provide their name and address and are asked to keep their comments under 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? In the front row, come on forward. And we'll get to the rest of you next. Come up to the microphone, the lectern. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vijay Mohan, and I reside at 7751 Alcon Road of Oak Ridge. And I'm here as a representative of Triad Hindu Temple. I serve in their board of trustees. I also have my colleague, board of directors, Shubha, with me here. So we are here today to welcome you all for Food and Cultural Fest. Triad Hindu Temple is hosting this Saturday. Triad Hindu Temple is located in 7751 Alcon Road. So we just moved in here in 2019, and this place is, their mission is to provide a spiritual and cultural needs for people who are following Hinduism. And this festival is open to all. We would like to Triad Hindu Temple, would like to invite everyone in Oak Ridge area to come and expose themselves to Indian food and culture. We are going to have about 11 food stalls, foods cooked to perfection, to all the flavors from India, and also with all the safety measures up to the standards of a restaurant, and it will be served to everybody. The food coupons start at $1. We have food stalls, about 11 food stalls representing 10 different regions of India. So it is like if you go to Europe, you are going to eat like a French cuisine, Italian cuisine, everything in one day, just like that. Indian states are like that. They have quite a very different cuisine between states. So we welcome you all to join us, and there is also going to be music and dance running from 12 p.m. noon to 6 p.m. So you can join us for lunch or dinner. Everyone is welcome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for
and
being
I will
here.
leave the flyer up in the front, so anybody who would like to take a look at it, we appreciate it.
Why don't you put it on that back table there so people can check it out as they
We'll do
leave?
that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I saw another hand in the first row.
No,
No.
Back row.
Oh,
not back.
Phyllis Clodfelter.
Phil.
Come on up.
Council for allowing me to speak. And
Could you give your name and address for the record first?
I'm
Sorry.
Phyllis Clodfelter, 6707 Brookbank Road, Oak Ridge. And I was born and raised in Oak Ridge, and it was a small little community. And everybody knew everybody. And a lot of our citizens were tobacco farmers and hardworking people. We all helped and supported each other in this time. Also, we had a vision for our future and our children. And baby, look at us today. That has been carried on over the years. And speaking of the Redmond House, I may be premature addressing this, but I feel it is located in a great location. It's right there at the entrance of our park. It could be done or repairs or whatever is needed. I feel like it should be saved, and that it could be landscaped and could be a welcoming to our park and community, and for everybody that's coming in for the first time to see that we have a lot of heritage to offer. And some of the possibilities I see are a welcoming center, even with rocking chairs on the front porch. A town museum to show newcomers our heritage, and to be rented out for community events such as family reunions, weddings, birthdays, garden clubs, whatever, you know. And I sincerely hope you will consider these ideas when voting to keep the Redmond House. By tearing things down and starting new would be awful expensive to build something new. And we have this heritage that could be saved and enjoyed by a lot of people. And I thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the next item, which is our monthly financial update, and I'll invite Finance Officer Sam Anders to present our monthly update.
Good evening, Council. Everyone should have received a copy of the financial statements and the Finance Officer's report by email. And on the financials, fairly normal for us. Balance sheet position, we're holding very strong. Little under 4.6 million in liquid reserves. Current liabilities of $50,448, some deferred inflows, total liabilities of $64,400, and a fund balance of a little bit over $4.5 million. Big chunk of this is the ARPA funding, $828,000, that's in a segregated account up top that you can see. Our fund balance down there is split between committed to capital projects of a little under 1.7 million, unassigned of 2.477 million, and in between various stabilizations. And the Veterans Honor Green, due to the magic of fairy dust and unicorns, is already changed to the number.
Amazing.
That was fast.
What can I say? I'd like to say that I texted that in and Brianna ran in at the same time, but y'all got this yesterday. Y'all are pretty easy to understand when it comes to restricting funds and keeping things balanced out. So we went ahead and got that one in. For the month, we had total revenues of $134,047. As you can see, the expenses were $103,462, so a net addition of $30,584 to fund balance. And behind that is the detail of our bank deposits and our schedules of all the expenses, followed by our assets and our debt service schedule. So overall, fairly normal month. We have received $3,506.35 in property taxes and $7,398.95 in motor vehicle property taxes, for a total of $10,905.30 that was or is being deposited as we speak. Those were the net collections by Guilford County through March the 31st. Monthly sales tax and property taxes were in the mix this month for revenues received. We had interest in the Veterans Memorial donations. We had some dog park donations in preparation for canine capers. Some other park revenues, planning and zoning fees, franchise tax for the month. This is a quarterly that we receive for telecom services, video program, and electric power, pipe, natural gas. And we also receive some solid waste disposal funds. The franchise tax receipts, those deal with primarily utilities. We are still seeing some softening on the telecom and video programming due to the changing nature of technology. More and more people are getting their television and the Netflix kind of items are all being downloaded. Those are not under the franchise tax regime like cable TV and other telecom services were. So we're seeing a gradual softening of those, and we've taken that into account with our projections on budgeting. Our investments in the bank, we're monitoring. Earnings are not really good. We're doing the best we can in the market that we're in right now. We're still maintaining a bulk of the money in ICS funds that's insured, and it's also relatively good earnings in relation to money market accounts and other things. As long as the Federal Reserve keeps the rates down, we're not seeing much activity with the banks. As I try to explain to people, banks are in the business of buying and selling money, and they give us a deposit interest to buy the money that they turn around and loan out. With the Fed offering the money at virtually zero, there's no real intent for them to offer much more than the minor amounts we're earning. So the ICS is a better program right now, but we are cognizant of that and we are monitoring that. For the month, staff has been supported with grant compliance. The bid process, which is still ongoing, we're keeping in contact with Truist about the financing for the Heritage Farm project as it's moving forward. And the ARPA and SCIF grants, CIP process, and Finance Committee meetings are all part of the budget process that we're working on. So that's pretty much everything that I've got, except for, one minor thing. I do have a budget request that originated with special events. Due to the inflation that we are seeing, I would like to request a budget amendment on special events to allocate $850 for additional luminaries to be purchased so that we can take advantage of a current price that's locked in and avoid a higher price come the fall when Christmas will be here. And that's just an $850 transfer from fund balance to special events so that they can purchase these now and take advantage of that.
Thank you. Council, let's start with that budget amendment. Is there a motion?
I make a motion we approve the budget amendment for $850 for luminaries.
Second.
The motion has been made and
Second.
seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries, and the budget amendment is approved.
Thank you.
Next, we'll look for a motion to accept the finance report as presented.
We're gonna let the new guy do it.
I move we accept the finance report as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries, and the report is approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for all of your help with those pesky grants.
Anytime.
And to our attorney as well, since I know he's involved, especially in the American Rescue Plan grant. We'll now move on to our next item, which is committee reports. And I'll invite brief reports of up to 3 minutes each from our boards and committees and from our community organizations. Our town clerk will read any reports that have been submitted in writing, although we always prefer to see our committee chairs here in person. She'll keep time for us, and I'll ask you to wrap up quickly if we exceed the 3 minutes. We'll start with, hang on, who's first? Conservation easement. Mr. Simpson.
Good evening. Ron Simpson, 8022 Fogelman Road, Oak Ridge. And I'm here on behalf of the Conservation Easements Committee. I'm its vice chair. The Conservation Easements Committee was formed by this council to explore the possibility of creation of easements for conservation of land or preservation of structures that would be in the interest of the town and satisfy the desires of property owners who might want to participate in these legal arrangements. The committee created something called the CORE Initiative, which simply is an acronym, C-O-R-E, Conserving Oak Ridge Through Easements. And we've begun the process of actually now trying to implement some steps to get us into doing easements. But first we need to inform the public about what this is all about. So our committee met in its regular monthly meeting on the 16th, and we moved toward finalizing some information documents that will eventually feed into items that we placed on the town website, application forms that we might use with interested parties, and also public relations kind of information that would be disseminated through communications outlets. We did agree, and this is significant, on an information session to be held here at the town hall on May 11th from 4 to 6. And we'll be inviting the public, those who are interested in this topic, to participate in that information session. Especially noteworthy is the fact that we will have representatives of the Piedmont Land Conservancy and the Preservation Oak Ridge, or Preservation North Carolina, organization, present to explain what their organizations do, because very likely they will be a partner in this process between the property owner and that organization which will actually hold the easement. So much is going on. We were gaining momentum with this activity, and we thank the members of council who have been with us and advising us along the way. If you have any questions, I can address those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
And next, Special Events Committee, Ms. Duchowski, come on down.
Good evening. Patty Domchowski, 7320 Hidden View Drive. Special events. We had a wonderful groundbreaking.
Patty, pull the mic down a little bit.
We had a wonderful groundbreaking ceremony this morning with a nice crowd, and we dodged the heavy rain, which was wonderful. Thanks to all that attended and to those that participated. And I would also like to give a shout out to our wonderful scouts. They are always present, and they presented the colors, they led the Pledge of Allegiance, and performed the closing song of God Bless America. They are inspiring youth in our community. They always participate. When I ask them, even at the last minute, they're right there. And it was also great to have Mark Reeves on site, who was our design architect for the site, in attendance. He was overwhelmed. He thought it was just great, and he just loves the town. He just loves what's going on here. Next, we have engraved pavers for sale now. Our handouts have been updated to include the pavers, and we've created a flyer with all the specific details. There's also going to be an ad in the next issue of the Northwest Observer with all the details. You can find them on the back table. During the month of January through March 31st, we received donations of $17,660, as Sandra stated before. I want to thank Sam for the creative accounting, the pixie dust or whatever was involved with that, but that was good. And again, with the town's approval, this amount will be held over for matching in the next fiscal year. Our next ceremony is going to be on Memorial Day, March 30th, Monday, May 30th, and our speaker will be Steve Nash. He was the recent speaker at the Field of Honor in Kernersville to commemorate the Vietnam Veterans Day on March 29th. Steve served 4 terms in Vietnam. He was a Navy SEAL, and he served on an underwater demolition team. He later served in Iran and Afghanistan, and after he retired, he became a photographer for the Associated Press. So looking forward to having another great Veterans honoring ceremony on Memorial Day. The Scouts will be coordinating a kids' bike parade in the park for the 4th of July. We look forward to also participating in this event. Our plans for Light Up the Night, Saturday, December 3rd, continue to move along. Ben Walraven, Vice Chair, and his group have completed the order for additional luminaries to complete the circuit around the front park area. We've also decided to move the lights inside the sidewalks to eliminate some of the wires going across the sidewalks. Barbara Engel has been doing a great job on getting additional craft and food vendors for the event. We're hoping to expand from where we were last year. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. We will now move on to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and I see both co-chairs okay. It's going to be Mr. Garrett tonight. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. I'm John Garrett, co-chair of the Oak Ridge Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and I live at 8604 Broomfield Road, Oak Ridge. During March, we held our monthly meeting on the 17th in person and via electronically the Zoom platform. We still have some members that are choosing that, and so it's working out for us really well. During that meeting, we approved the Acton. I had never heard of this organization before, but it's pretty interesting. It's the Acton Children's Business Fair, and it's a national organization to support young individuals, young entrepreneurs to launch and showcase their own businesses. It's teenage and younger, so it's an interesting organization. And they haven't really chosen a date yet, but it's sometime in the next couple of 3 months in the park. A one-day event. We also approved the Catalyst Church to use the park for an annual Easter egg hunt. We also learned that I'm sure you're aware of this, but I wasn't until then, and that is the town is added an additional town park custodian to begin working this month, and they'll be available nightly, on duty nightly from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And lastly, the Music in the Park will be this Saturday. Hopefully everyone can join us. I believe it's going to be a lot of fun, and it starts a little earlier than we had planned. It starts at 6 this Saturday night instead of 6:30, so come prepared for a 2-hour event with fun. Any questions?
No, thank you so much. We're excited about Music in the Park coming back this time of year. And next we will go to our Finance Committee, Mr. Jenkins.
John Jenkins, 6700 Ashton Park Drive. The Finance Committee has met 3 times this year. The first meeting was to look at, we asked Bill and Sam to put together projections, I'll get it in a minute, projections for the rest of this year to compare budget to actual, and then we compare this year's budget to last year's budget to see if there's any anomalies in there. The second meeting was to look at next year's budget and again compare this year's budget to next year's budget and put it in the context of what we're going to spend in capital, what the parks, the addition to the park is going to do in terms of expenses for that. This is mostly revenue, operating revenue and expenses that we review on a line item basis. And then the last meeting, we look at the projections for the capital expenditures and what it will do to the overall fund balance that we have. We've completed that, and the budget looks good. I commend the management, Bill, and the team for how they handle the operational budget. And it is a pleasure to work with the new committee. I think we're fully manned for the first time in probably several years with alternates and everything. Any questions?
Don, I do have one, and
Yes,
I don't know whether it should be addressed to you or Mr. Anders or Mr.
Oh, I'll
Bruce.
take it.
As a part of the budget proposal, I think everybody's painfully aware that we had a property tax revaluation this year. Are we going to have the new tax base numbers? And would it be possible to get a revenue neutral tax rate based on that?
I think the answer is yes.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll let my
I think that's
assistant
more
answer
towards
that.
saying. Where are we on that?
Councilman, we have revenue projections from the information sharing with the fire service. They've released some numbers to county fire departments, which I use those off of Oak Ridge District to drive the calculations for the town. But as of right now, the county, as of today, has still not released all of the revaluation on commercial. We do not have total valuations on everything. They have had some problems in their IT networks, and some of the calculations were, so we're waiting on that. Once it does come, yes, we will have, in the short run, we will have valuations to where we can drive that, and yes, we can calculate a neutral rate if that is the desire of council.
I think the other thing that I would like us to do as a part of this process, we've got a lot of property developing rapidly over the next 2 years in the town. And I think at some point, and this would apply more to CIP process than anything else, how does that impact our revenues in future years, as it would apply to paying for the projects in the CIP? And I don't know the timing on all this. I thought I had been keeping up with town affairs. I found I got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to look at that because I think it would be helpful in trying to mitigate what the damage to what we're actually going to pay in property taxes in future years. If we can reduce the actual tax rate. So at whatever point that's appropriate, if we were going to make a change in our tax rate, when would that have to happen?
It would be adopted as part of the budget. So it would be done by the meeting in June where the budget's adopted. And then the rate is set at that meeting. I inform them every year I have to do a verification to the county effective July 1, and then they start the process of feeding it into the computers.
So we've got a very short window to look at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But we are trying to monitor this with the county. But as is still normal from when you were mayor, the county gives some information to the fire department for budgeting purposes that it does not give to the town. And by the same token, the town does get some detailed collection information, such as the motor vehicle property taxes and the breakdown between that and the residential commercial, that is not given to the fire departments for budgeting purposes. But the main piece now that I'm concerned about is that they have not got the commercial reevaluation numbers out there yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, where were we? Finance Committee. We'll now move on to the Water Advisory Board. So back to you, Councilman.
Okay, I will continue. Thank you. I guess the biggest announcement I could make is that the town of Oak Ridge has been approved by the state as a municipal water provider. This has been a long time coming, and what that means is the town can own and operate its own water system for its citizens. We also anticipate accepting our first community well system in the next few months. Water Advisory Committee met on March 23rd. It was our first meeting in several months, and the primary purpose of that meeting was to participate in a workshop that was led by Mike Myers, the president of EnviroLink, the company with which the town is contracted to operate and maintain town-owned community well systems. We reviewed our water rules, and Mr. Myers will be providing us with a suggested set of fees and rates that are listed in those rules. The board will review these at its next meeting and make recommendations to council to formally adopt them. And finally, our town finance officer is working with EnviroLink and with the town attorney to set up the enterprise fund that will serve to handle water system revenues and expenses. That includes setting up a full chart of accounts and banking links that we will need for that. And this will also be presented to council for approval when it is prepared. And the board will also, or the committee will also recommend to council the amount of seed money that will be needed to be transferred to the enterprise fund from the general fund at that time. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Okay, we'll move on to Historic Preservation Commission, and I think Ms. Ruck is here tonight.
Caroline Ruck, 1976 Beeson Road, Oak Ridge. The HPC met for its regularly scheduled meeting on March 16th, where 4 COAs were brought before us. We approved a COA for Glenn and Ruth Curley, who requested to install commercial signage, ADA accessible ramp, parking area, landscaping, and removal of trees at 2201 Oak Ridge Road. We also approved a COA for Liberty Sign and Lighting, who requested new signage at 8004 Marketplace Drive. And we approved a COA for Aaron and Mandy Smith to construct a new single-family residence on 5911 Billet Road. And we approved a COA, Steve and Sarah Cheffy, who requested a certificate of appropriateness to construct a new single-family residence at 5302 Willard Road. In addition, the Historic Heritage Grants Committee received 2 grant request applications this spring, one for the Donnell Stone House and one from the Oak Ridge Military Academy, specific to Maple Glade. And also the Committee for Historic Oak Ridge Tabletop Book met to discuss and confirm the scheduling. And our graphic designer is currently working on sample designs for those pages. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next is Planning and Zoning. Is Mr. Streck here?
No,
Oh,
Nancy's.
okay. Sorry, I saw him for a moment, so thank you. Nancy Stoudemire, Vice Chair.
Hi, I'm Nancy Stoudemire, 8003 Eastridge Road. The Planning and Zoning Board met and approved the site plan for the same place that Historic Preservation approved theirs on Oak Ridge Road. And since it's Arbor Day month, I'll give you a quick report on the tree committee. We are planning to expand on the treasure trees that we identified a few years ago by hopefully marking the ones that are on town property this year Also, putting together a PDF type booklet that we hope can link to the town or link from the town website to show what those treasure trees are, with pictures of them in various seasons, and possibly, or at least looking at our tree ordinance to see if that needs to be strengthened. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Mountains to Sea Trail. We have Ms. Steele here tonight.
Evening, Ann Steele, 8927 Grove Park Drive. I'm co-chair of the MST committee, and we met for our monthly meeting on Tuesday, March 22nd. We still do Zoom because that seems to be a preference for everyone. Currently, the Friends of the MST is circulating a draft of the content panel that will be displayed in the future kiosk at the Linville Road parking lot, which is where the Headwaters Trail trailhead is. We will continue to work together, making any revisions and finalizing the information for the content panel. And there has been progress on the building of the kiosk structure. On March 29th, I met Ben Jones from Friends of the MST, and we decided on the exact location for the kiosk. And Mr. Jones poured the concrete footers and installed the steel anchor brackets for the kiosk posts. And we will continue to work together to schedule the installation of the structure in the next few weeks as schedules and weather permits. All signage for the Headwaters Trail has been made and installed. The blazes for the Headwaters Trail are up. There are blue circles that you may have seen. And we are also in discussions to plan and install some sort of fence for around the new parking lot. We're thinking something like a split rail fence or a stacked timber fence that would go along both sides and along the back of the parking lot, drawing everyone to the middle where the path is that leads to the trail. So that would guide visitors where they're supposed to go, keep them where they're not supposed to be, and also we think it would just kind of add a nice decorative element to that area as well. And we continue to explore options and ideas for future trail in Oak Ridge. And the committee thanks you for your continued endorsement and support. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much. That fence sounds like a great idea. I will now move to our community organization reports, and we'll start with the Oak Ridge Youth Association. Mr. Collins.
Randy Collins, 4514 Peoples Road. We'd like to thank ORWA. We'd like to thank the town of Oak Ridge for supporting us all the time, even through the hard times. I will say that it's time for Oak Ridge officially declares baseball season is here for us, all right? So we really appreciate it. I've given each of you a report. I don't intend to go through all of it because I know time is limited here. But with baseball starting and the growth that we've had, we do have some serious concerns. I've heard several, but the biggest one I have that I think we got to think about is because of our growth, a lot of our 4 and 8-year-old players are having to practice and play games sometimes till 9 o'clock. And that's just, that's near and dear to my heart there because I'm coaching forever. I know how that goes. But I'd like to just turn to the 3 graphs is all we'll talk about. If you'll look, I think Kelly Riddle, the rock star, for putting all this data together for us. 2017, we had 101 players. In spring and baseball in 2022, we had 195 players. The next one is kind of crazy. Oak Ridge to softball. 2017, we had 24 players. Currently this year, we have 163 softball players. If you look at the third graph, in the softball and baseball teams, if you look in 2017, Oak Ridge had a total of 9 ball teams, okay? I'm going to go to 2021. We had 18 teams. I digress 1 year later. If you look at that number, We currently have 33 teams. That's almost double from a year ago. So it's significant. With that said, I would like to ask, in 2020, there was a subcommittee for athletics. I think Mr. Jim and Martha was a part of that. I would like to ask the council to re-engage that council for a meeting and just talk about, you know, these facts and what we can do to maybe help. I don't know if there's an answer, but I mean, the brain power, I know
Well,
it's...
actually, I can direct you. We actually have that subcommittee on a quarterly basis, meet with the president and the vice president of ORYA.
Okay.
And it would be their prerogative to invite other people.
Okay, if we can just do that. I was understanding it was
So I would
like
say
this.
just talk to Tom.
Okay.
I would think he'd be happy to invite you to the next meeting, which is scheduled for April 27th.
Okay, that'd be great.
27th, I don't
I was
know
thinking it was a
exactly what time.
special committee.
10 a.m.,
so-
10
10
a.m.
a.m.
April 27th.
Ann, if you will look again at the, and I know my time's, I'm close, but the Oak Ridge baseball, the players, if you look at that total number of players in 2022, how many were there?
Players?
Yeah, up at the top red number there was...
You mean the
Can you
195?
see that?
Oh, I'm sorry, 195.
195, that's a mistake. There's actually 200, so that means there's 5 players that haven't been showing up. And tonight, we want to make sure you guys start showing up in time. So, for the 5 players, we want to see these red shirts and Oak Ridge proud. I'll turn that upside down, get the first one here. So, you see the first one? You see the first one?
Thank you. Wait, are we on the same team?
All of you on the same team.
That's good.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
I'm usually picked last, so I feel good.
Just in case the new council member was picked tonight, I'd like to take credit, but I can't, but my wife said you better do something.
Town council. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Banks. That's wonderful. I love this. We will wear them proudly.
Yep.
Thank you so much. That was fun. And now we'll move to the Oak Ridge Military Academy. Do we have a report? Oak Ridge Elementary School.
This was submitted by Penny Lotion, the principal. She said, "We just finished a very successful book fair with parents able to attend in person. A book fair evening was held in collaboration with our PTO. Parents had the opportunity to shop with their child while viewing the media center makeover and grabbing a bite from the many food trucks on hand. Students have spent the last few weeks gathering various items to send to Ukrainian children currently displaced from their homes. Students collected crayons, coloring books, games, cards, and socks. And we're gearing up for our annual Oak Ridge Derby Fun Run in May, powered by Boosterthon, to raise funds to go toward our outdoor learning environments."
Thank you. We will now move on to item number 15, a second of 2 periods for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this time round? Please come forward, Mr. Browning, sorry.
Hey, Mayor, hey, Council. My name is John Browning, 8024 Linville Road. Just a couple brief things. Most of the enjoyment and priorities of my life are my family, my church, and the park, whether it's the town park and the Heritage Farm Park is a close third. So that may be a commentary. My life is not really that exciting, but all 3 of those things we get a lot of enjoyment from. So that being said, I just wanted to compliment the Special Events Committee again for their hard work that they have already done. You know, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. You know, they broke ground today, but they've been, countless hours in getting to where they are now with the design for the Heritage Honor Green and just kind of where they are. So I really think they're one of the hardest working committees, I think, in the town of Oak Ridge. So between the
light up the night and where they are with the Honor Green is quite exciting. Another thing, just to echo Randy Collins' statements about the baseball, I can vouch for being up with grandkids playing ball, 9 o'clock or a little bit after, and that's getting kind of late for grandparents too, to be up and awake that long. But anyway, it's a good problem to have with the number of kids and the status on the youth association. The town's always been a good supporter of the youth athletics, and we sure appreciate, on behalf of the youth association, all the support. And I know we have mentioned maybe that Field 5 in the near future, and maybe just to give some thoughtful consideration of that. And again, when my wife and I walk at the park on a regular basis, and we like the feel of the park, it doesn't feel like an athletic park, but maybe to balance those two, and maybe to put some thought in adding that third field, because those smaller kids don't need a big field, just a little field that we can tuck away maybe somewhere that will have, minimal impact on how pretty the park is. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. And that was nice, from one hardworking committee to another. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during public comments? If not, we will move on to council comments, and I'll start with our newest member, Councilman Sullivan.
As I said earlier, I thought I had kept up with things, but I find out I got a lot of catching up to do, but it won't take long. We've got a great staff. We've got great committees and great committee chairs. And tonight I was reminded once again just how important our committees are to keep our town thriving. And their work is certainly greatly appreciated. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman.
Tonight has seen us appoint a member of council to fill Doug Nine's open seat. Again, as we did last time, I'd like to thank Doug for his years of service and wish him well. But I also want to acknowledge all of the residents who reached out to me and expressed their interest in serving Oak Ridge as a part of this body. Active citizen engagement is key to good governance, and each of these individuals offered their time and their talent, and I want to thank them for that, because that's what makes Oak Ridge great, is because all of our residents are engaged. Also, I'll throw out just another congratulations to the Special Events Committee and under the leadership of Patty Domchowski. Your project is on the cusp of becoming a reality, and it's due to your perseverance and dedication to the dream of having a site that will honor all of our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
I also want to reiterate what Councilwoman Pittman said about all the people that did reach out to want to serve. Everyone that asked to serve, I know how much you love this town and how much you care about this town, so I greatly appreciate that. Again, welcome Spencer Sullivan back up here. Deja vu all over again. I appreciate his time, and I can't say often enough how much I appreciate Doug Nodine's service. I worked very hard with him with the AI Church and also up here on planning zoning. His presence will be sorely missed up here, and I hope him the best. As always, blood drive. Blood drive's coming up Monday at the Oak Ridge United Methodist Church. If you're able to donate, please do. A single donation can save 3 people's lives. Campaign signs. We're in campaign season. The importance to understand about campaign signs is a campaign sign can't go up unless you ask the property owner's permission.
No shit.
And there are a number of people that signs that are placed, like there is one on the town park property right now, which clearly we did not give permission for them to put up. But please, if you're putting up campaign signs for your favorite candidate, which is I encourage you to do, please make sure you have permission of the property owners before you put those signs up. Because clearly there are several signs that, I know there's one at the fire department. I can guarantee you the fire department didn't give permission for that. So please, respect people's property and ask permission. I encourage you to put up signs, but ask permission before you put those signs up. The other thing I want to mention to you, all the committee reports you hear about, those meetings are all open to the public. So you can get the information firsthand by attending those meetings if you want to. The Finance Committee is open to the public, Mountain to the Sea is open to the public. Not just about every committee is open to the public. So please exercise your right to be at those meetings and attend them if you're interested in those topics. And as always, we can't do what we do at this town without all the volunteers. So another reason why you want to attend those meetings is to see how hard those committees work and how much it saves staff time and effort. So again, thanks for all your support.
Thank you. Councilman McClellan.
Well, first of all, let me just say thanks to, just kind of reiterate what's been said about our committees. Y'all are doing a great job. MST, Parks and Recs, special events. Y'all are doing a fabulous job. I also want to thank all the folks who did apply to become a council, for the appointment to council. This is, I'm glad to always see people that are stepped up because, as I've often said, none of us here are indispensable. It's going to require new people and over time. So that being said, also referring to political signs, all my signs, I have permission. I take the time. I've been door knocking. I did 50 houses just the other day. And appreciate that. I can't speak for the other guys out there, but my signs are all constitutionally legal. Okay?
I did not, I was not picking on you. I know George would not do that, but I'm just letting people know that there's a lot of other people's signs out there.
Mike, if you want a sign, I'm easy to find. And, I would be honored to help you to let freedom reign. Folks, have a great evening, and thank you all for coming.
I guess we're definitely in campaign season. Thank you, Councilman. I want to also thank the donors to the Veterans Honor Green. We heard from one of them today, Bernie Walraven and his wife, who gave $10,000 that was matched by the town. So all donations are still being matched. That turned into $20,000. And he spoke about why he gave that money. And it was very touching. And one of the things he said that resonated with me is that he wanted his kids to grow up in a town where they could come see that Veterans Memorials, that Veterans Honor Green site, and to learn about our military branches and the meaning of military service in this country. We have so many vets in our community, and we have so many vets in our lives. And I'm so excited about the reality of this project and the way it's going to show how our town values their service. And today it was very moving. We had a moving invocation from now Council Member Sullivan. We had Patty talked about all the donors. We had the scouts there. It was just lovely, and it made me so proud. And I do want to say I did some rough addition today, and we have about 65 people serving on committees. Now, a couple of those are duplicates because you've got people who are really enthusiastic. I love that. But there are at least 60 people, and probably a little more, a few that I've missed on subcommittees. It's just incredible what they do. And I know we all talk about this, but I attend a lot of these committee meetings, and it's incredible the time that people are giving to some of these great projects. And I also want to say, echoing what others have said, I had some wonderful conversations and emails from people interested in serving on this council, and I would love to continue those conversations, and I'm just so grateful for everyone who wishes to serve this community. Thank you, and I guess now we will move to a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion we adjourn.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
I'm so glad you got us through.
Jim.